Battletech fans, Heroscape is out, and your first question is probably, why do I care? And that is a very valid question to be asking. If you've ever seen anyone play Battletech with these shiny plastic tiles, Heroscape is where they come from. Now, this game was originally released back in 2004. It got canceled in 2010. About 2 years ago, with the launch of a clusterfuck of a crowdfunding campaign, the process of it getting republished kind of began. Long story short, Renegade Studios went ahead, got the license to publish it, and now they have finally re-released some of the first products in this line, and of course, they contain a whole bunch of these cool plastic tiles. So let's go ahead, dive into these two products, and look specifically at what would be interesting for Battletech players. So what you see here is the master set for Heroscape, which retails for $125. Of course, as a Battletech player, all we really care about is the terrain over here, and not all the miniatures and all the other stuff that comes with the game. Now, what you may be thinking is, well, I'll buy the box set, I'll keep the terrain, and sell off the miniatures. But there's a problem with that. All the characters you see here are unique characters, which, as the name implies, in the context of a Heroscape game, you can't use any one of these characters more than once in your army. Therefore, hypothetically, unless you're, say, creating maybe a stop-motion animation series based on Heroscape Tales of Valhalla, or you're doing painting tutorials on YouTube for Heroscape miniatures, there are very few reasons why someone needs to own more than one of any of these miniatures. That means, for the near future anyway, I would not expect there to be a very high resale value for any of them. So as for the terrain though, a typical Battletech map is 31 hexes by 17 hexes. The question comes in, can we actually go ahead and make a Battletech map out of what is over there? Let's find out. So that was a little bit of a tight fit, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have an 8 by 6 piece. Well, there you go. That is what you can build Battletech style-wise in a complete master set. It's 12 by 16, so I suppose you really would want 3 of these if you want to do an actual full Battletech mat. And then on top of that, that's only 1 map sheet, whereas some scenarios use 4 map sheets. There is the other Heroscape starter set here, the Battle for the Wellspring, which is cheaper, but it also only would add about maybe 25% more terrain to what you see here, so that's not a particularly great option for Battletech either. And it also has the same problem with the unique miniatures in it. So I went ahead and dug out 2 of the original Heroscape tiles to check on something. Because I noticed when I was assembling that, some of the pieces felt really tight putting them together. And with the original ones, they go together, especially the big ones, a lot easier. So I'm not sure whether that's a case of these have just been worn down more, or these maybe had tighter tolerances in terms of manufacturing, but the old pieces are a little bit easier to put together than the new pieces. So maybe if you need a bunch of Heroscape tiles for Battletech, just hit up eBay for the old terrain pieces. So yeah, things are not looking particularly great for these Heroscape products when it comes to Battletech fans. And I have one more piece of bad news before I can go ahead and share at least a few good points and one other important thing to consider before going ahead and picking up this game system specifically just for playing Battletech. Let's take a look at this picture I took right here. Now in Battletech, you have your different levels of elevation, and of course, Battletech is approximately 2 levels of elevation high, and right here in this photo, I've got 2 Heroscape tiles stacked atop each other, and they really only come up to about halfway up a Battletech. So yeah, these tiles are really only about half as tall as you really want them if you wanted to use them for more of like a miniature scale Battletech. So it seemed like you kind of need twice as many tiles as what I was just showing off. So that's not great, but I do have one piece of news or one idea that may make things a little bit better for you, and that these hex tiles are 1.75 inches across, and therefore instead of actually using them as your base of the battlefield, you can go ahead and purchase a hex mat. They come in all sorts of different designs and whatever you want to do that have the proper hex size, and you can use that as your base level of the battlefield, and then just the Heroscape tiles you can build up for the elevation, stacking them too high for each level of elevation, and you can end up with something that probably works halfway decent. And then I guess I lied, because there is one more problem you got to think about, which is that your Battletech level terrain, whether that be trees, rubble, buildings. So roads do exist in Heroscape. They were available in the old days. You can probably find road terrain on eBay. It may be expensive, maybe not. I don't know off the top of my head. So that could be a problem as well. So yeah, okay. So there are some more problems you got to sort out. Maybe 3D printing can solve that for you. I might work on that possibly in the future. But there is one other really important thing to be aware of, and that is a different game, which is called TimeStrike. So the time that I'm recording this, TimeStrike is not out yet. I do have it backed. It went through a Kickstarter campaign, and then it went through a late funding thing over on GameFound or BackerKit, and that's where I went ahead and backed it. So hopefully it'll show up at some point. I've got burned on these things before. I'm looking at you, Mythic Games and Monsterpocalypse. Where's my $150-ish game that I ordered? Anyway, though, TimeStrike is a Heroscape-like game. There are some differences, but you can definitely tell there are a fair bit of similarities to it. And one of the things that it has its own hex system. Now, it's not compatible with Heroscape, but it looks very similar. But the interesting thing about what they call their source system is that source is open source, and that anybody can go ahead and create compatible tiles as well as create their own game which works with the source system. There are some more details there, but you can go ahead and research that yourself if you're interested in making a game with it. But one interesting thing these guys said when I got to talk to them on a TOV Live podcast is they're actually talking to Catalyst Game Labs about creating Battletech specific tiles for it. And we'll see about how that works out. But of course, with open source things, other people can go ahead and create their own Battletech compatible tiles for things like woods, rubble, buildings, all that fun stuff. So it's quite possible that this source system may actually be an altogether better solution for Battletech players, but we'll find out when that finally shows up, if it shows up. I have no idea when its current estimated ship date is. I probably should look into that. I did give them like $100. So what you're seeing on your screen here is Wave 2 of Heroscape over on Renegade Studios' website. Now, when I'm recording this video back in early of September 2024, all that's on the market is these 2 starter sets, as well as a couple of trees. Now, in the Wave 2 set for this game, not only will there be more miniatures, but more importantly for Battletech players, there's going to be a couple of standalone box sets that have just the tiles in it. So these box sets, when they come out, may be a good option for Battletech players. Renegade has talked a little bit about wanting to make their hex system for Heroscape be useful to other games, but as far as I know, they haven't really kind of mentioned any features specifically for other games, kind of like what the source guys are talking about for their tile sets. So I guess we'll see how things work out. So at this point, honestly, unless you actually want to play Heroscape as a game, it's probably not the best solution for Battletech players just quite yet. And I bet if I already go look on eBay right now, you can probably get a whole lot of the old tiles fairly cheap. Let me check out of curiosity. The tiles are here. I wouldn't consider them to be great prices, but if you're looking for some and don't want to buy the miniatures for Heroscape right now, this is still technically a valid option. Another option, if you are sticking in the Heroscape tile set, is this company called Hyground Tiles. This is their Etsy store over here. They sell interesting things that allow you to take 3D printed terrain that they have created. You can buy both the actual terrain miniatures themselves as well as the STL files and integrate them with existing Heroscape tiles. Hey, look at this. There's actually a gaming playmat that you can use that's compatible with Heroscape. This looks to be more of a water one, which probably isn't that super awesome for Battletech, but maybe they have something else similar for just straight up ground. Now, most of their products are designed more for, enhancing Heroscape battlefields or making things that are a little more Dungeons and Dragons style friendly. But there might be something cool here for Battletech if you're interested in kind of using, obviously, these things for that game. Hopefully that kind of gives you a basic idea of what's out there in terms of using other terrain systems like Heroscape or Battletech. It's not a great solution right now. Things are still pretty expensive, and it's not a complete solution either. That may change a little bit in the future as we see just standalone expansions for terrain for Heroscape, or when Source finally arrives and is a little bit more readily available because it's actually being produced in large numbers. You can just go to a store and buy it somewhere. Until then, though, it's kind of just a mix and match and do things the best you can. Anyway, thank you guys all for watching. I'm Jason, the creator of the Tabletop Battlefield, and I will see you next time.